So we have been discussing in our T-Touch for You class the power of intent, what that concept of our intent, how it affects the outcome. And it brought to mind in the second day of my 4-year training with Moshe Feldenkrais in San Francisco. He made a statement in that day in the Awareness to Movement class that it was possible for a human to learn in one experience using these gentle, non-habitual movements in order to activate new brain cells that would give us more potential for learning, because that was the passion that I heard from him. And so I thought in that moment, wait a minute, if this is true for a human, it has to be true for a horse. What could I do with moving a horse in a way that was not a way they could move themselves, that would give them the potential for a new way of learning? And so I went out that afternoon and I worked with a 16-year-old mare who had been a brood mare, never been ridden, and she had just come down from Montana, so the owner brought this, had to chase the horse around to catch her. And the issue was, could she learn to come instead of being afraid and running away after all these years? So he chased her around, caught her up, brought her in, and I stood there thinking, okay. Now, we had been doing movements with leg circles, and it's in our first publication that we made. And we were moving these circles in order to give the horse a new balance to be able to stand more effectively when a blacksmith was putting shoes on or trimming the feet, because many horses have difficulty with balance in this case. And so in this case, I started doing the same movements we'd been doing for years, but with the intention of, could I move this horse's leg in this way that would activate new connections, neural connections, to give that horse new potential for learning? And so I did this same stuff we've been doing for years, but with a whole different intention. And I worked for maybe on moving the tail in different ways that I hadn't, with this, wait a minute, I want to give this horse new neural connections, new experience. So I had no idea if it would be successful or not. And so we put her away then and turned her loose. And the owner the next morning called me and said, Linda, I don't know what happened to my horse, but when I went to catch her, instead of running away from me like she normally did, she came to the gate. I thought, that's really interesting. Then he took her into the stall, and instead of going for her hay, which would have been normal, she just stood there beside him as though to say, wait a minute, do something to me. And I'd been working on the head and the ears, and that to me, and that I just, after all these years, I'm thinking, wait a minute, that was my interest, that was my intention. That horse did learn in that one experience of giving new awareness to her body, and with me thinking about, wait a minute, let's see if we can give her new information that will help her to learn in a new way. The big question, isn't it, how much is that just the energy of my thought? Am I holding that potential for a new change of behavior? And I think that's a mystery, and I think it's something that we really need to think about. How do our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings, our emotions affect behavior of animals? And of course, ourselves. That is a mystery worth really thinking about and exploring.